Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we have quite a lot of analysis to do on Bitcoin because, as you guys may remember, in yesterday's video, I was talking about just how bullish it is that we have just seen the 20 daily EMA crossing the 50 daily SMA, and that was probably going to lead to a breakout, and that breakout ended up happening in that video. Go watch that. It was pretty cool. It was up there in the top right. So in today's video, we're going to be expanding on what we discussed in that previous video and diving into the technical analysis surrounding Bitcoin right now and discussing where Bitcoin might be heading based on all of that technical analysis in the next couple of weeks. We have quite a lot to get into in today's video, guys, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. If you do, as always, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel when you do that. It looks like we're going to hit 34,000 subscribers today, which is awesome. Thank you guys for that. Without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Guys, over the last couple of weeks, Bitcoin has gradually been recovering from that massive crash that we saw about a month ago. As you guys may know, the stock-to-flow model for Bitcoin is predicting right around an $8,500 Bitcoin at the moment, and it looks like we're kind of trending back up towards that before the halving comes in about 20 days or so. That's something else to mention here, guys, on one of the numerous halving countdowns, that we're looking at about 17 days until the halving occurs. We're looking about 2,500 blocks away, and that should be happening around the 12th of next month. So be watching out for that. And a big reason why you should be watching out for that is because it kind of leads into the point of this video, which is the technical analysis surrounding Bitcoin and why I think Bitcoin is in a pretty bullish spot right now. To get the simple stuff out of the way, first and foremost, Bitcoin has just broken several levels and trend lines of resistance. First of all, we broke this downtrend of resistance yesterday when we broke to the upside. Then we broke our previous resistance right over here around $7,400 and rallied above it. Bitcoin also, a few days ago, managed to hold support on our uptrending level of support. And as for our moving averages, Bitcoin is above all of them on the 4-hourly chart, and on the daily chart, we've gotten above two important ones, the 20 daily and the 50 daily. Bitcoin is in a process right now that you see happen at the beginning of every uptrend. Normally, when you're seeing a new uptrend form, you have to see Bitcoin break through, slowly but surely, gradually move through all of these levels of resistance, break one, break two, break three, and then start building momentum, start getting speed behind it. That's what we just saw happen. Bitcoin broke bullish above $7,400, got a little bit more momentum, broke a little bit more support, moved a little bit farther to the upside, continued the trend for a little bit more time. It's a very good thing that Bitcoin broke resistance yesterday, and I'm extremely happy to see it. Even though we pulled back into kind of a bull flag that we'll be talking about in a second, it is looking bullish. Continuing. We also need to look at our RSI and our MACD. Right now, RSI is sitting in very healthy territory, sitting around 58. That is prime. That's perfect, guys. We're above 50, which means we're in the bullish camp. It means that we should be seeing bullish momentum, but we're not sitting up here at like 80 or something where Bitcoin is just doomed for a crash relatively soon. There's plenty of room to run, but we're also looking bullish. That's a great thing, and it also applies to the MACD. MACD sitting down here right around the zero level. That means that there's plenty of room to run on the MACD, and since we've just started diverging bullish again, that's an indication that we are going to have a run on the MACD, but that's entirely dependent on what happens on the chart, of course. As for that chart, guys, a few things. First of all, we saw a pretty decently sized volume candle yesterday as a result of that move that we saw, and with that move that we saw, we confirmed the bounce off of the 20 daily exponential moving average that we saw happen a few days ago. That's a really good sign. Bitcoin put in this kind of U-bottom right here, which is pretty bullish in and of itself, and then we broke bullish, rallied all the way up to $7,800 at the maximum. Our previous high for the last month and a half had been $7,450. Don't forget at all what we talked about in yesterday's video also. This cross right here is very significant. This is very bullish and will likely indicate that there's going to be a golden cross happen on these two moving averages in the next 2 months or so. But finally, let's go ahead and zoom in here to the hourly chart and look at the shorter term, because there is something that I need to point out here. Some people have been saying that this move is going to turn into a Bart Simpson pattern, and to be honest with you, the way that it looks over the last 5 hours, I can see why people are saying that. As you can see, we have a relatively flat level of resistance, which looks fine if we're looking at a bull flag. But then if we draw our support, it becomes a little bit harder because Bitcoin looks like it's trending to the downside on the support. The support level that I'm going to draw here is $7,400 because that is our previous level of support back over here. Just a little bit over $7,400, about $7,420 is where I'd be looking at on your chart. And guys, just to prove to you that technical analysis does work, exactly where the bottom of this wick is when I'm recording this video is the exact top of this market over here. And that's one of the points I want to make also. Yes, Bitcoin is trending to the downside in this 5-hourly time period right here. Yes, Bitcoin traded sideways and then moving to the downside again. That is all well and good, and that is true. But Bitcoin's absolute low over the last 24 hours has been the absolute high of the market over the last month and a half. that does mean something. That is significant, and that is, in fact, a point in favor of the bulls. Even though this little 5-hourly move to the downside may well result in a crash below this level, that does not for a moment invalidate the significance of this move and setting a higher high. That's still very important. So let me be clear. If Bitcoin does not bounce here and rally back up to $7,600, which is our resistance, there is a good chance that it's actually going to break to the downside. And if it does, the level of support that it will go to is almost certainly going to be this red downtrend of resistance right here. But guys, think about that for a second. If Bitcoin breaks to the downside here and goes back down to test that downtrend, what's the worst that happened? I mean, Bitcoin set a higher high, which is very good. It indicates that we're still in an uptrend, and we're using what used to be a resistance as current support. How bad is that? That seems okay to me. Bitcoin having a correction after a big rally, that's pretty normal. If Bitcoin does correct here, and frankly, I see a decent chance of that happening, that's okay. So guys, the point of this video is not to say that the next 5 hours or the next 10 hours or the next 24 hours are going to be really bullish on Bitcoin. I don't know, and I don't care. The thing that I'm more interested in is what is the next 7 to 14 days going to look like. I personally think from everything that we've seen here that it's going to look very bullish. The strength of the bulls is definitely here. Now, I'm not saying that the bulls are really, really strong right now, but I think they are slightly stronger than the bears. We saw that because we had this big level of resistance right here, and Bitcoin broke it. I don't think the bulls are like ready to start off a bull market or anything, but it's moving in the right direction. The bulls seem to be stronger now than they were a week ago, which is a good trend to be in. Remember, guys, this is something we teach a lot in CT2A. At the end of a bull trend, the bears almost instantly get their control. When you see the top of a bull market, it's almost always rally, crash. It's a V-top. We saw that happen in 2020. But at the end of bear markets, at the end of downtrends, and the beginning of rallies and bull markets, you generally see the bulls start kind of petering along, gradually building up their momentum and their speed. It takes time. You don't normally just see a bear market or a rally go boom, boom. Sometimes you do if the bears got massively overextended and some bulls came in and bought it back up. But especially on these longer-term movements that are taking a month or two, generally you see the strength of the bulls continue to increase and increase and increase, and it takes a little bit of time. We're seeing that the bulls are stronger now than they were 2 weeks ago. I'm happy about that. Not only that, but the fundamentals for the world seem to be doing a lot better. Stock markets are bouncing. The oil market is doing its own thing. I understand that. But a lot of the concern that people in cryptocurrency had seems to be waning. It seems like we may have hit the top of the curve. And that's a very good thing for many different reasons. But in this case, for Bitcoin, it means that a little bit of the uncertainty that's going on in the fundamentals around Bitcoin seems to be waning. That is obviously going to be a bullish thing. And that leads me to my final bullish point. There is a halving coming up, guys. There's a reason I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, and I'm going to be talking about it more. This is very significant. The last time a halving happened was 4 years ago. Myself and many of you guys and many of the YouTubers you watch were not even in the space 4 years ago. Many things are going to happen when that halving takes place in just under a month. One of them is that the lead up to that halving is causing a massive amount of interest on Twitter. This article by Cointelegraph does a great job explaining it. As you can see, they have a graph here from the TIE, which shows the amount of Bitcoin articles mentioning the news, the halving, and gold. The halving is getting a lot more attention lately. Same thing's true with the halving versus Ethereum 2.0. The halving is blasting off in interest. There are hundreds and thousands of tweets going on about this. There is a lot of publicity, a lot of free publicity. We're not even having to tell everybody about this. It's just all over Twitter right now. Good things are coming to Bitcoin, and always remember, good things come to those who wait. Patience is a virtue, and remember, some of the best things for you are some of the things that feel the least pleasant. Eating your vegetables, holding Bitcoin. It's the same thing. Weird analogy. And to wrap this video out, I want to expand on the idea of the fundamentals of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market and the entire global economy for a minute. And I want to do that with this article right here. This stunning headline proves why crypto may perform well in 2020. Bank of Japan signals interest in unlimited quantitative easing. Now, I need to make a point here that I'm not so sure this article makes. Japan has been interested in unlimited quantitative easing for at least 4 years now. This is not exactly news, but it does bring to light some of the flaws in the global economy and the central banks and everything that's going on in the world right now. We're seeing massive quantitative easing. Japan, the 9th largest economy in the world, is seeing a incredibly high debt-to-GDP ratio. It's sitting around 225% right now, if I remember correctly. The United States has over 100% debt-to-GDP ratio. Some of our enemies, if you will, Russia, China, I'm not calling you guys enemies, but those governments are, you know what I'm talking about. They have much lower debt-to-GDP ratios, which means that they're not as over-leveraged. It's something I've talked about on the channel before. It's very important. And I will expand on that in a dedicated video in the future, by the way. Most of the first world, because the first world seems to be the place that's really getting hit the worst by all of this, is making some really short-sighted moves that, quite frankly, they kind of need to do. I'm not saying that we don't need to go through QE. This whole recession that we're in right now would probably be a lot worse if we weren't doing this. but it doesn't mean that it's going to be a good thing for the long term. And it's all pointing back to Bitcoin. It's all going to bring attention back to Bitcoin. And remember, the future for Bitcoin is looking better now than it ever has, and I think the short term is starting to show that as well. I want to hear your opinions on that in the comment section down below, though, guys. As always, if you did enjoy today's video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel when you do that. If you made it to the end of the video, what I want you to do is I want you to tell me in the comment section down below, how has this lockdown, the social isolation order, how has all of this affected your life? I'll tell you how it's affected mine. I've kind of turned into a hermit. I do everything from home now, and I just go on drives to keep my sanity. Yeah. Tell me in the comment section down below how it's been affecting you. I'm curious. But like I said, guys, that is going to wrap it out for today's video. Before I go, though, I do first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.